Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Hi, in this video I will show you how to play different sounds when UI button is pressed down and released. I start from an empty project and set it up real quick. Here I have a couple of button sprites, which represent pressed and released states, button sound script and a couple of sound clips. First I create new UI button, anchored at the center of the canvas holding Alt+Shift keys. Here we go. Double click it to focus on it. I don't need text here, so I remove it. Button is blank by default, so to change that I drag and drop one of button sprites, which represents released state, into source image slot here. Button is stretched. One of the ways to fix that is to check in preserve aspect option here. I make it bigger. By the way, once canvas is created, I like to set its scale mode to scale with screen size, so UI elements will be scaled depending on screen size. I make button bigger holding Shift key to scale it proportionally. Put it at the center. OK. By default, all of button states are visualized by color tint. In my case, I want button states to be represented by different sprites. So I change transition option to color swap and drag and drop sprite, which is responsible for down state, into pressed sprite slot here. Very well. Sounds playback will be controlled by button sound script. Let's take a look at it. Here I have a couple of audio clip variables, which are button down sound and button up sound, which will be played when button is pressed and released. Serialize field attribute allows me to assign these variables in inspector. Also, here I have audio source variable, which allows me to control an audio source component, which will be attached to button to play those sounds. In start method, I take control over that audio source component. Play down sound method will be invoked when button is pressed down. When it happens, button down sound is played. Play up sound method will be invoked when button is released. In this case, button up sound is played. Pretty simple. Drag and drop this script to button. Select button and let's give it a final tunings. Here is button sound script attached. Drag and drop corresponding sound clips into their slots. In my case, O goes into button down sound slot and O goes into button up sound slot. OK. To play sounds, button needs an audio source component, so I add one to the button. Here we go. To make it possible to invoke those methods from button sound script, button needs an event trigger component, which will detect when I click and release my button. Here it is. This component has to be tuned. Add new event type, which will be pointer down. It triggers when button is pressed down. Hit plus sign to create a kind of response to this event. Drag and drop button into this slot, and here in function drop down, select play down sound method from button sound script attached to our button. Now this method will be invoked when button is pressed down. Add new event type, which is pointer up one. This event takes place when button is released. Button is already added, so select play up sound from button sound script. That's it, everything is done, and now I can hit play and see how it works. Uh-oh, 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 uh-oh. Cool. Hope you find anything useful in this video. Thank you for watching and see you next time.